Hey everybody, and welcome to a new video. My name is Tonio, and if you're new to this channel, I'm a documentary filmmaker and photographer. So in this video, I want to talk about rejection in the photography and filmmaking industry. Rejection is a part of our creative profession and something we have to deal with almost on a daily basis. But there are ways how we can not only deal with it, but also grow from it as professionals. And if you don't know how to deal with rejection, it's actually something that can really bring you down and ruin your entire career. And it's something that can take away your passion and your initial why on why you wanted to get into photography or filmmaking in the first place. So dealing with rejection and knowing how to handle rejection is something that I had to learn, and it's been a very, very tough journey, I can tell you that. So now I'd love to share my experiences with you. So maybe in the future going forward, it's going to be easier for you dealing with rejection and actually not just dealing with it, but also growing from it and becoming not only a stronger person, but only a better, more professional filmmaker and photographer down the road. Of course, there are many types of rejection. Rejection could mean that your film does not get approved into the film festival that you're really looking forward to get into. It could mean that you're not getting a specific job, or that another photographer or filmmaker got the job instead, and the client chooses another person over you. It could mean that you're getting negative feedback from a client that you've worked for, or maybe from a person that you kind of look up to, or even just your friends and family telling you that you should not pursue your career as a photographer, and maybe get like something more secure or whatever instead. So rejection comes in all sorts of forms and scenarios. So it's even more important that we learn how to deal with it going forward. And the very first important step we have to take as professional filmmakers and photographers is to separate our personal value from our creative work. Because if we get criticized for creative work and we take it personal, which is super easy, and I've definitely been there and done that, because we put so much effort and love and all of our heart into our creative work, and then somebody's criticizing that, giving us negative feedback, and then that hits our heart immediately. And sometimes we even take it very personal when somebody's critiquing our work, which it's actually two totally separate things, you know. But obviously because it's something that comes from a passion, from something that comes from within, especially as an artist, it's almost like when you're creating a film, it's almost like you're giving birth in a way, you know, it's like a part of you, and especially when you're telling a personal story, and people are criticizing that, it's almost like critiquing a piece of you. So it's very easy to go down that route and feel personally attacked when somebody is critiquing our work. But we have to learn, and I had to learn this the hard way myself, is to distance our own personal value as a human being from our creative work. Because our art and our photography or filmmaking is something that's always evolving. And if somebody critiques my work from many years ago, I actually totally hear them in many cases. Because back then, I definitely didn't have the skills that I have now. I don't have the perspective on storytelling and filmmaking. So there's a lot of things where I actually grew from negative feedback as a creator. And now I see things in a different perspective, and I can actually myself now look back on my old work, critique it, and then see, okay, what did I do wrong? And then for the next projects going forward, grow from that. But obviously if we're in the moment and we're releasing a brand new work and people are giving us negative feedback, it hurts. So very important is, and it's actually a process too, is to realize that your work is not your personal identity, and it's something that's evolving over time as well. Just like you as a human being is evolving and growing every day, so is the work. And so it's totally fine if we're receiving negative feedback on it. And obviously, just to be clear, we don't have to take all negative feedback seriously too, because there's always deconstructive feedback or feedback that's coming from people that just don't really know what they're talking about, and they just randomly critique, you know, anybody because they hate themselves or whatever, for whatever other reason, I don't know. So it's always important to kind of like know, okay, who's the feedback? Where's it coming from? Is it actually something that is something where I can grow and learn from? Or is it just somebody just ranting on their keyboard because they have nothing better to do? In that case, obviously, you just, you know, forget about it. So it's super important that we learn how to deal with this feedback and then turn it into something positive. Because if you look at any professional filmmaker or photographer and you look at their success stories or you read their biographies, they all had to deal with rejection, each and every one of them, and they've all went through really harsh times and were doubting themselves. But the difference between these people and the people that are now on the internet just complaining about other people's work, and those are the people that gave up. You know, maybe they had an initial dream, they had an initial vision, but they gave up on the road, and now they're frustrated sitting at home. You don't want to be one of these people. You want to be the person that actually stick to their vision, that pushed through the hard times, and that learned how to deal with rejection. And once again, not just dealing with it, but actually growing from it as well. staying motivated is something really tough, especially in those moments of rejection, because when we work so hard on something and then we receive negative feedback, it can really take a lot of your energy, and it's super important to not let that happen, because that's actually where these moments happen, where some of us, and I've been there as well, kind of like lose or feel like we're losing the passion for photography, and we tend to go out less often, take pictures, we feel less inspired. So it's almost like negative feedback can drain your batteries and make you lose your creativity or that spark that makes what we do so magical. So for me, the number one thing to stay motivated is to go back to my why. Why did I start taking photos, or why did I start making films initially? What was it that initially sparked that idea of like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to dedicate every minute of the day towards? And for me, and I've mentioned this in a previous video, what initially got me started in photography was my love for nature, my love for the ocean, and actually my love for fishing. So when I feel like I'm lacking motivation or my creative batteries are like almost drained, and I just go out in nature and I maybe just go fishing and I look around and I observe nature, and oftentimes after I do that, I come back home and I feel so recharged and full of creativity. And actually oftentimes I regret not bringing the camera, but at the same time I'm happy I didn't do it, because sometimes I just need that moment without a camera, just enjoying what initially sparked my interest in photography, which once again is outdoor activities, watching sunsets and sunrises, going fishing, and observing the little things, the wind in the trees, the reflection of the sun on the water surface, like all these things that give me just a deep satisfaction and inspiration. Putting the camera aside and just really focusing on these joyful moments is something that can really give back motivation and also give you back a reason for why you're doing this. And a strong why is the main number one reason that gets us going. If we have a strong why, if we know why we're doing this, then we can pretty much push through anything. We can push through any negative rejection on the way as well. And it's also something that I had to learn for myself, is to celebrate our victories. So by celebrating our victories, I don't mean, you go out partying and popping bottles every weekend, What I mean by that is when you have a small or like any achievement, like landing your first client, or you went out and you captured this one species that you always wanted to get, and it doesn't even have to be paid client work. Even if you just go out and you shoot an amazing photo, you put it back into Lightroom or Capture One, you do an edit and it's something you're really proud of, celebrate for yourself, just tap yourself on the shoulder and say, hey, you know what, great work, like you deserve this. So this is actually something where it has two sides of the medal, because getting inspiration from other artists at some point, when you're comparing yourself too much, can also bring yourself down. Because comparing, it's always pretty much a road down to feeling unhappy, because there's always something we can compare ourselves to where we're like, oh, we're lacking of, like for me, for example, I haven't gotten a photo of like a blue whale underwater so far. It's definitely something I really, really want to get. So when I'm comparing myself to other underwater photographers, it's like, oh, why haven't I gotten this shot yet? But at the same time, that puts me then into a negative mindset, a mindset not of abundance, but a mindset of scarcity, where I'm like, oh, it makes me feel bad almost. It doesn't really give me inspiration. It does in a certain way, but at the same time, it puts me in a position where I'm like, oh, I'm lacking something, if you understand what I mean. And then on the other side, it can inspire you, because maybe this photographer captured this, obviously beautiful picture with like perfect lighting and great composition. So it's something that gives me inspiration down the road. So this is also something where it really comes down to the mindset and the way how we use this content from other people and other creatives. Do we use it in a more positive way where it gives us inspiration? Or is it something where we tend to go down this negative spiral of just consuming media the whole time, and it came to the point where it doesn't really give us inspiration. It's more to the point where we just feel worse and worse the more we scroll to our feed. And that's actually also why it's called feed. Like, it's literally feeding you with information, it's feeding you with content. So make sure that your feed, another thing, very important actually, make sure that your feed on all social media platforms is very inspiring and not draining. It's just like the food we consume. We can go to McDonald's and we feel like shit after, or we go eat like something like food that's actually alive, that's giving us like energy and doesn't drain your energy, but actually gives you energy. So very important, guys, very, very important. Go through all your social media channels and mute and unfollow anybody where you feel like their contribution to your feed doesn't contribute to you feeling better and to feeling more inspired. And I can tell you from my own personal experience on how important it is to be persistent. I've had so many film and photo ideas of mine rejected in the past. I've gotten so many no's, day after day I'm getting a no. Especially coming here, moving out to another country, coming from Germany, moving to the US, I've already dealt with tons of rejection. I've created so many pitch decks for movie ideas. I've written so many companies and brands, that I've been reaching out to that are actually exactly in my niche. And I'm telling you guys, honestly, most of these responses are no, so I'm getting rejection all the time. But actually, one of the reasons I'm also not outside right now taking photos, but I'm actually inside is because I got a freaking yes, for a movie documentary idea that I've been working on. So with a friend of mine, and it's actually super exciting stuff happening. And I can't, tell you all about the details right now, but I definitely will in the future. And so I'm just really preparing the shoot, putting together the budget, putting together the crew list, the shot list and everything. So really exciting stuff coming up. But I've been dealing with rejections for a month and month before getting that one yes. So it is so important. And that's actually what inspired me to create this video right now, is because of my positive experience after having all this rejection. So persistence, guys, persistence, and don't give up. If you're giving up on yourself, who else is gonna believe in you? You gotta be the one that pretty much pushes through. And then you always get, and that's another thing, guys, you always get the least support when you need it the most, and you get the most support when you need it the least. Once you're an established creator, once you're an established photographer and filmmaker, people are gonna knock on your door wanting something from you. But when you're still starting out and you don't have a huge portfolio and a huge network, you're gonna get a lot of rejection, and you gotta be the one that pushes through, and you gotta be the one that makes it happen. And another thing that is super important is getting constructive feedback. And with constructive feedback, I mean feedback from people that are in the industry, maybe people that you look up to. Maybe you have somebody in mind where you're like, oh, I would really love to get their feedback. And you know what you should do? Find out their contact information, send them your work, and give them maybe a compliment on their work, like, hey, your work really inspires me, because people always love to hear that, especially when it's coming from a genuine place. So maybe reach out to your favorite photographer, reach out to your favorite filmmaker if you can, and say, hey, this is the work that I'm doing, and you've actually been an inspiration for me to do that. And I would love to get your honest feedback on it. And you know what? Sometimes they will give you their honest feedback. And don't be afraid to reach out. They're all just human. If they get a genuine, nice, and kind email from a person that's asking for some honest feedback because they've created something that you inspired them to do, they're gonna they're gonna sit down and they're gonna look at it and they're gonna respond. I can guarantee you that. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for honest, constructive feedback. And also you can get amazing feedback by attending workshops, by attending film festivals, by creating a community of your own, by going into and joining Facebook groups, posting some pictures there and asking for constructive feedback. Because a lot of the times people are just leaving an emoji or leaving a like there, and it doesn't really help you out. But if you actually put in the caption like, hey guys, I'm an inspiring filmmaker, photographer, I've created this, I'm asking for genuine constructive feedback, maybe that'd also be something that you can really learn from. And rejection and constructive feedback can actually be a great learning opportunity for you. If you don't get into a film festival, maybe, instead of just accepting the no, ask them, hey, why did I not get into this film festival? Or why do you not want to work with me as a photographer? How is my portfolio not good enough in a way? Or what is my portfolio lacking? Why would you not want to hire me? So there's nothing wrong with asking that. Just accepting a no doesn't get you anywhere. But if you actually go the next step and say, hey, thanks so much for taking the time to review my work. I really appreciate it, and I hope that, wishing you all the best for your campaign. One thing I would really appreciate it if you would give me some honest and constructive feedback on my work. What was it that, didn't match, or what was it, where could I improve? Especially when you're submitting your work to film festivals or photo competitions. So if you then get some actual feedback from them, that's where you can analyze that and actually grow from. Because if you just accept the no, then you don't really have a roadmap going forward. You don't really know where I can improve. So one little tip for me, don't just take the no as an answer. Don't try to convince them to turn no into a yes. We're not selling insurances here. but just get some proper feedback, which can then help you to grow as a photographer or as a filmmaker. And there are so many techniques and so many things that you can do on how to maintain a positive mindset, but for me, and it's actually something I'm practicing daily, and it has a very tremendous positive effect on my entire life, not just my creative work, is gratitude. And I know it sounds simple and it might sound a little like obvious or whatever, but you know, there's really so much to be grateful for. If you have a roof over your head, if you have a camera, you might have family, friends or something. There's so many things to be really, really grateful for. And just being in that position that you're in right now, learning about something that you're interested in and learning something about that you're passionate about, having access to all this free knowledge on YouTube, not just my videos, but like the entire gigantic space of the internet, living in these, you know, amazing yet scary and fascinating times that we're in. So many things to be really, really grateful for. And so practicing gratitude, even if it's just like, you know, for less than a minute a day, you know, just say thank you. Thank you, be proud of yourself for everything that you've already created so far, you know, because I'm sure you've shot amazing photos before. You might, you know, maybe you didn't get paid for it so far, maybe you don't have your first client yet, maybe you do, and if it's so, that's something to be very grateful for. And if not, still, you know, be very grateful for anything, all the people you've met along the way, the trips you went to, the things you saw, the beauty of nature, the beauty of humans. So practicing gratitude on a daily basis is also something that actually not just helps me to stay motivated, but also something that inspires me, because my work personally comes from a place of love for our planet, love for nature, and by practicing gratitude, it's actually almost like I'm opening myself to the energy of love, and that's something that once again fuels my inspiration. So practicing gratitude, guys, just amazing. Do it. So that was it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video inspired you and actually helps you down the road to deal with rejection, to grow from rejection and turn it into a positive experience. As always, my goal with this channel is to teach you from my personal experiences as a documentary filmmaker and photographer, and I'm wishing you nothing but the best. See you in the next video, and I really can't wait to update you on the new film project that we're working on. But so far I have to keep it quiet, but super exciting things happening. So also something to be very, very grateful for. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for you watching this video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.